Today's video is a question I get asked a lot. Yahya, I have no money. How do I start a business? How do I become an entrepreneur in 2022? Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Yahya, founder and creator of Record Breaker, where I help you break all sorts of financial and physical records by unleashing the power of your mind. So I figured I'd make a video to explain to you guys how I did it, my entire journey, and how you can do it. So by the end of the video, you will know my entire story of how I transitioned from a corporate job. That's right, I worked in corporate for a decade and a half almost, to a full-time entrepreneur, how you can do it, what are the easiest steps to do it, and if you stick around till the end of the video, you're going to find out how you can be profitable from day one. And that said, boys and girls, let's get started. We're going to start with my story and how I used to work in corporate. I worked in lots of different corporate jobs. I worked in retail fuel. I launched a credit card. I worked in vehicle tracking. I worked as a consultant. I worked in pharmaceuticals, consumer packaged goods, so on and so forth. I never had it in mind. I never actively wanted to be an entrepreneur, but it came a time in my life where I'd worked more or less up the corporate ladder and I was stuck at a senior managerial position in my early 20s where all my peers were more or less about 10 years older than me and my boss was about, somewhere in the mid 40s. So I was like, yeah, do you really want to wait around to get promoted to that level? Because it took time. The environment of that particular company and that industry was you have to have the years in before you can actually be promoted. I got an opportunity from another company that wanted to start their business from the ground up. Now remember, up until this point in time, I'd only worked in companies that had pretty well-structured layouts, roles, responsibilities, and I knew exactly where I fit in the entire machine, what cog I was in the entire machine. This was an opportunity, scary opportunity, to create something from ground zero, all the way up. This was a company that was looking to enter a particular market where it had zero presence, and they wanted me to be the driver. I thought about it a lot, and I was like, listen, man, you can either play it safe and you can stick around with this company and probably retire from here, which a lot of people did, and I see no harm in that, but I wanted a little more. I wanted to expand my horizons. I wanted to move up as quickly as possible, just like most of us do. And I was willing to sacrifice the safety and predictability of a corporate job and trade places with that of an entrepreneurial position. So I was hired as the country head for that particular company. Now this involved a lot of stuff. This was a pharmaceutical consumer goods company. So what it involved was getting permissions from the government, getting registrations of our products, importing them into the country, setting up distribution, setting up some parts of manufacturing, hiring people from scratch, buying an office, setting up the office, hiring people, training people for all the different departments, HR, finance, marketing, legal, so on and so forth. And I did that. And while I made a ton of mistakes and while it was extremely stressful, I also learned at a very accelerated rate. I made all the mistakes under the sun and then some. I did it pretty okay. I wouldn't say I did a wonderful job, but I did decent. And then I did it again for another company and again for another company. So I spent about, close to 10 years being hired by companies that had zero presence in certain parts of the world that are traditionally considered hard to do business in. They'd hire me to set up their operations from zero. And I became pretty good at it. And one of the things I remember me struggling early in the beginning, because I wanted to get everything right, one of my bosses sat me down and he said, yeah, it's okay. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. We didn't hire you because you're the best and you have a ton of experience. We hired you because we see potential in you to become someone capable of doing what we need done. So it happened again and again and again and again for me, where I developed a bit of a reputation as an exponential growth expert. And then it occurred to me, yeah, if you can do it for all these companies who are paying you money and you can, earn them millions of dollars, why don't you do it for yourself? So I was kind of thrust into entrepreneurship. I didn't truly plan my life or start out my corporate career, thinking that I'm going to be an entrepreneur. But more or less, the more I did it, the more it dawned on me that, you pretty much made all the mistakes you had to. Although there is no such thing as making enough mistakes, you always make more mistakes. Every time I start a new business, there's a bunch of mistakes that have to be made for me to learn. After about the third time I did this, I then decided to do it for myself. I started with my coaching and consulting business, and shortly thereafter, I started with my artificial intelligence and robotics company. The rest is history. Now let's come to part 2, which is how you can start. Now, the way to start is to identify something that you have of value that other people are willing to pay money to acquire. It could be one of two things. It could be an inherent skill that you have. Maybe you're naturally gifted or talented at drawing, creating, editing. Maybe you're naturally gifted at performing, dancing, singing. Maybe you have more of a soft skill. Maybe you're great with people. All of us are naturally gifted at certain things in life, and we're naturally curious about them. We naturally, because we enjoy them and because we're gifted, it comes to us like second nature. We tend to be better than other people at those things. That could be one. The other thing could be you've solved a problem for yourself or someone else, which makes you a bit of a subject matter expert. So maybe you lost a ton of weight and you learned along the way how to change nutrition and how to exercise and how to lose weight. Maybe you created a program. Maybe you created an asset. Maybe you're good at masonry, at carpentry with your hands. You're good at creating something. These are the two things, either of them, you need to be able to start your business. The second thing is identify if there is a market or there are people who are willing to pay you money to either learn that skill from you, use that skill, or solve that problem for themselves. So let's say you're great at editing or you're great at art. Identify people who are willing to pay you money for you to create pieces of art for them. Maybe you're great with people, you have great people skills. Identify someone or a company that's willing to pay you money to be in a position like sales where you need a lot of people skills, or customer relationship management, something along those lines. And if you've solved a problem for yourself where you've learned a skill very quickly or you've solved a problem very quickly, let's take the example of losing weight. Identify a market, people who are willing to pay you money to help them lose weight. Find out where those people hang out, where they congregate. If it's business owners, find them at conventions or at LinkedIn. If it's people looking to lose weight, look for them in Facebook groups, Instagram pages, weight loss communities, so on and so forth. Find out where these people are and start having a conversation with them. Start having a conversation with them around the problem they're having. And the conversation will reveal to you what their pain points are, how long they've had this problem, how the problem gets in the way of their life, what would they pay to solve the problem, how would life look like if you solve the problem for them. All of this information is basically market research. You're finding out, you're speaking to the end user, you're speaking to your future customer and finding out what their pain points are. And all of these things you're going to use in marketing. What does marketing look like? You start creating content around these pain points. So all of this material essentially becomes your marketing, whether these are posts on LinkedIn, posts on Facebook, posts on Instagram, YouTube. You are going to be talking about everything those people talked about, how you overcame those problems, how you would recommend overcoming those problems, why your skill set allows you to be better equipped at solving those problems for those people. That's marketing, plain and simple, easy. And the last thing is sales. When those conversations reach a certain point, if you think you're a good fit, make an offer. Tell them, hey, I'd like to solve this problem for you. Would you like to work with me? This is how much I charge. That's it. Now let's get to the mistakes that you need to avoid. So the first mistake, and a lot of people spend a lot of time on this, is don't overthink the skill or the offer or the problem you're going to solve. That's what market research is for. Find out if they're willing to have the problem solved, make an offer. You will find out. There is no point in spending a lot of time wondering, will people pay me to solve this problem? Who am I? Why would someone pay me? What life experiences do I have? There are so many better people who can solve this problem for them. Why would they pay me? Don't think about any of that. It's irrelevant. It almost makes no difference how they feel and what thoughts you have. Pick something that you have of value, irrespective of how bad you're at it. If you're slightly better than a regular person, you have value to add, and roll with it. Identify the people, start having conversations, start making offers. Second big mistake is do not wait for the perfect time to start. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The next best time? Today. A friend of mine once told me, this is me because I've fallen in the same trap. A friend of mine once told me, Yahya, if you are not ashamed of your first product later on in life, then you were too late to the market. There's a lot of weight in what she said, because this is the journey of an entrepreneur, but more importantly, this is the evolution of a product or a service or an offer that you're creating. You start out with what you have. You make money with what you have. And then as you work with people, as you sell more, you learn more. And as you learn more, you refine your product more. And as you refine your product more, you start charging more. This is the journey, irrespective of whether it's a technology product or a service or a weight loss program, doesn't matter. The first thing that matters is you sign people on, you start marketing yourself, you sign people on, you learn from your mistakes while helping them, and then you adapt, you get better, and you move on. And then you keep charging a price premium for that. This is how all products are created and refined. You need to start with what we in the tech industry have a term, MVP, the minimum viable product, which means the minimum product that someone is willing to pay you money to solve, or the minimum level of proficiency you need to have in a skill for someone to pay you money to apply that skill. That's it. The third biggest mistake that people make is attaching emotion to the marketing and the sales process. All these conversations you're having, all the market research you're getting makes you create your marketing. A lot of people fall in the trap and they start overthinking and overfeeling the response that their marketing has. Whether it's lack of response, I made an amazing YouTube video, nobody paid attention. I made such a wonderful post, I poured my heart out into the post, nobody responded. I made 10 offers, I got 10 people on a call or in DMs and I made them an offer and they told me, go away, we don't want to speak to you. There is no need and there is no reason to be emotional about it. This requires a very structured, methodical, logical, and numbers-driven approach. All you are doing is studying. It's analytics, it's data and analytics. You're speaking to people, having conversation, finding out problems, talking about those problems, highlighting those problems in your marketing and how you overcame them, then going to people and pitching, making offers, and then getting a bunch of no's. More often than not, when I'm training people, and this is essentially fear of rejection, right? People are afraid of being rejected. So they're like, no, I'm not going to make an offer. I give people a target of going out and getting me 20 no's in a month. Don't get me yeses. Get me 20 people who said no to you. Why? Because it knocks the fear of rejection right out their system. And that's what you need to do. So do not make the mistake of getting emotional about your product or your service or your skill or the fact that somebody said no to you or the fact that you worked so hard at marketing and it didn't pan out. That's okay. You're making mistakes, you're tweaking, you're tailoring, you're getting better. That's part of the process. You're supposed to make mistakes. This is something that's literally an epiphany that was provided to me by one of my bosses. He said, you're supposed to make mistakes. We're paying you to make mistakes. Making mistakes is part of the journey. It's how you learn. How are you going to get better if you don't make mistakes? But stop getting emotional about it. And that's my advice to you. Do not get emotional. Don't attach emotion to business. The fourth thing that people trip up all over is the price. Yeah, how much should I charge? Is it worth this much? Do I deserve to be paid so much? I don't like charging this amount of money. There are people who are charging 10 times more. There are people who are charging 10 times less. How am I going to stand? Doesn't matter. Pick a price that you're comfortable with and make the offer. Pick a price, I'm going to say it again, pick a price that you are comfortable saying, quoting. Roll with it. And to give you a benchmark, I'll give you two methods in which you can price yourself. Either you can pick a competitor who you think is closest to you or nearest to you and charge what they're charging, or you can find out what the minimum hourly rate is for you. So I do this with my clients a lot. I tell them, what is the minimum amount of money you're willing to be paid before you lift a finger? So let's say it's someone who says, yeah, I'm not going to lift a finger if I'm not paid at least $1,000 for a project or a task. That becomes their minimum amount. So either look at a competitor who's charging a certain price or figure out a minimum amount for yourself that's below which you're not willing to go. Run with that. And as you go along, as you get better, you can keep increasing the prices. It's easy as pie. Now, we're coming to the fifth part. And if you've stuck around, I am now going to share with you how you can be profitable from day one, because I see a lot of people, more people than I need to. I see a lot of people who have spent tens of thousands of dollars before they've made any money. And sometimes they spend a lot of money and never make any money in that regard. So here's how to be profitable from day one. Do not spend any money. Let me explain. Don't buy a website. Don't hire someone to create a brand or a logo or an identity for you. Don't create a program, write a book, start a course. Don't spend your time, energy, money on that. Don't join a program or buy a course that teaches you how to make a program or a course. Don't do that. Don't get fancy. People don't care. Don't focus on the exterior. Too many people, too many times, get hung up on appearances. I need a fancy website. I need a flashy this, a flashy that, this, that, and the. People don't care. You can be super fancy, super flashy. I speak to a ton of people who have fancy websites and landing pages, and they've written books and this, that, and the other. And I ask them, how much money are you making? Zero. So what matters is money in the bank. If you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a business if you're making zero money. I ask them, what do you do? And they're like, oh, I'm a coach, or I'm a course creator, or I'm this or that. And I say, okay, that's cool. What sort of money do you make? Oh, I do it for free. I'm like, okay, so it's a hobby. No, it's a business. I'm like, no, how is it a business? If you're making zero money, it's a hobby. So do not spend any money. And this is one of the best pieces of advice I was given. The best piece of advice back when I started. Don't spend a dime on anything before you've made your first sale. I hope this video has been helpful to you guys. Like and subscribe and leave a comment down below telling me what business you plan to start in 2022. Until then, boys and girls, it's been awesome. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.